What's going on, everybody? Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Lumberjack Landlord here. For those of you who don't know, I am a landlord, self-managing, and have 52 buildings, 53 buildings now, 145 units in market, and have an amazing diversified strategy that will ensure that I don't feel the pains of what we have coming to us in this market. But that being said, excited to have you guys here with us. For those of you who don't know, we launched an amazing series. I love our community so much and hate Dion just enough to spend $150,000. And thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Spend $150,000 on buying a property just so we could do this on the channel. So fantastic week, lots of progress. You guys will see a live stream tomorrow in the morning. I don't know exactly what time I'm going to do the live stream, but I'm expecting probably sometime mid-morning is my guess, is when we're going to do that live stream tomorrow. Sorry, I just took my hat off. Not that you guys really care what my hair looks like. I don't care. Anyway, doing the live stream tomorrow, probably mid-morning, going through the property, going to show you all the progress that we've made. But one of the things that we teach in the course is we teach a lot about not only self-management, but two really important pieces. One is how to get your best deal from contractors. That's one of the important parts of the course that we teach. What the process should be, how you work with contractors, what's the best way to get a good deal, what's the best way to not get ripped off, setting up how you pay them. All of these things we cover in the course that are hugely important. We also do how to work with inspectors. So tomorrow I have a meeting with the inspector. It's going to come over, take a look at the job, and tell us what a great job we're doing. And the nice thing is that the inspectors, a lot of people get antsy around inspectors. There's no reason to. That's why it's really important that the way that you do the contract with your contractors is you make sure that they get paid when rough inspection happens, and then they get paid when final inspection happens. That ensures that they're there till the end of the job. I had a contractor who I wanted to fire. Old REI guy. Contractors are so difficult. Saw that out of the corner of my eye. The bad ones are, and that's the thing, is you need to find yourself an old REI guy. The fact of the matter is that they're fairly hard to find. Great contractors that offer fair prices, they're fairly hard to find. But one of the things that we teach in the course is how to get the right quotes, how to get the right pricing from the contractors, make sure you're on the same page. One of the really important things, and a very important step in how you don't get ripped off, is that you tie the first payment. If you're buying materials, you tie the first payment to the rough inspection. That way they have to pass rough inspection. The inspector has to be happy with the work at the rough to know that you're in good shape. And then the next payment comes right when they finish the final, right when they finish the final inspection. These are really critical areas and ways to work with your contractors. They want to get paid. They know they want to get paid timely. So it's not a matter of, oh, hey, when you finish the project, I'll pay you within 30 days of that. Nope. The day we get that final inspection, the day that we get that rough inspection, guess what? We cut checks. That's the way it goes. That's what you're supposed to do. That's the right thing. They're trying to feed their families. They're trying to take care of their business. They're trying to take care of their employees. You got to pay in a timely manner. Don't be a jerk. Don't have somebody there doing a job if you don't have the money to pay them. Now, we do it on rough inspection when we talk about BRRR projects, when we talk about these rehab projects. This is what we do it for. Now, you got to pay on time, but you pay fairly. You've already got the agreed to price. The issue is that you have to make sure that the inspector's happy with the work. If your untrained eye doesn't know what it's doing, that's what you're relying on the inspector to do. Now, you believe that you've hired good contractors. I know what a good job looks like because I've done a few of these. But when you're newer in the process, you have to have these systems and processes set up to ensure that you don't get ripped off. That's it. You want to start a reputation with contractors that as soon as the step is completed, they get paid. Within 24 hours, they're getting paid. You know what I like to do? I like to meet the inspector there on site, and I like to cut the check right then and there. It's that simple. That's the best way to do it, because that lets the contractor know that they're valued, their work is valued, their effort was valued, and that you want to reward that by paying them in a timely manner. That way, if the inspector says, oh, we really need this XYZ taken care of as well, the guy's happy to do it. He just says, oh, I disagree. I don't think that's the right thing. And sometimes you run into a problem with a contractor or with an inspector. But that's where you can just humbly say, you know what? I'm a little bit new at this. I've not actually done this before. So can you just show me like the code of where it is so I can understand it better? If they start stumbling and stammering, it's because they don't know and they're making stuff up as they go along. They need, and they say, well, you know, I'm not really sure. You can say, that's fine. When you get back to the office, I'll just send you a quick email right now. Because I need to understand this better so I don't run into this again. Because obviously this is going to cost me time. It's going to cost the contractor time. So I just need to make sure that this thing doesn't happen again. So I understand exactly what you're citing to make sure that this is avoided again. Humbly, not arrogantly. I've done tons, literally hundreds of projects, and I still approach it humbly because I'm not trying to blow them up. I'm not trying to put them on the spot. I'm not trying to show them that I know more than they do. I'm not trying to do that. All I really want to know is, what is it that you're citing? What is the code that you're citing? So I make sure that I don't miss it and I avoid it in the future. That's all. And then I ask them, so if you were to do this over again, what would you have done differently? It's a fair question to ask them. Fair question to ask them. And very often they'll answer. And that's endearing. That's endearing. So, you know, I'm on a first name basis with a lot of the local code enforcement people because they recognize that I don't think I know it all. I know a lot, but every once in a while we run into something. And usually I call them and ask them, I say, hey, how would you like this handled? Here's a picture of it. I'll send it to you. Save them a trip out. These are a lot of the things that you guys can do, guys. A lot of the things that you guys can do to have a really successful project. But what I wanted to cover with you guys today was the budget, because most of you have no clue how to put together a budget for a BRRR or a flip project or even a rehab project. And quite frankly, they're all the same. The end result is different, but they're all the same. We want to get good quality work with good quality products at a fair price. That's all we're looking for, right? Very simple stuff. But very often people blow up this step because they have no idea, they have no clue, and they just go out in there and they finally get a contractor to show up, and whatever that contractor says goes, and I'm going to give them all the business. And then I'm asking them to do a lot more things around the job. Don't tell on yourself if you've done this. I'm asking them to do a lot more things around the job just because I like them and they're there and I don't want to screw anything up. And so they're there, even though it might not be their expertise, you're still asking them to do things. And so, shocker, it takes too long. It costs too much. And Nope, that's your fault. That's your fault. Take ownership. That's your fault. But that's what we're here to teach you, how to do this thing. That's what we teach you in the course. Here's all the different steps. Here's all the people you talk to. Here's how you talk to them. Here's how you pay people. All of that stuff is in the course. But tonight we're going to cover an actual budget. I'm going to make this budget thing available. We're going to have somebody post it in the video so you guys can take it. This is actually a bank document. I worked with a bunch of different banks and I finally basically said, hey, show me all the things that you need to have in something. And they're like, well, there's a lot of documents. I was like, no, I know trust me. I know you know how to overcomplicate things. So what did I do? I put it all together. And so I put it in one simple Excel document. I'm going to share that with you guys now. Wealth Building Journey. I see the super chat. Thank you so much. This community house project is so badass. Thank you, my man. I love this real-time walkthrough series. Talk about absolute gold, Elite 101. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Again, we're going to be there tomorrow. We've already done 3 lives. We've got one more coming. But I'm showing you guys when I go on site, I'm showing you exactly what I do. You haven't seen me there for 3 hours. You haven't seen me there after a full day's work. I'm putting myself in your shoes. This is you and me not having to do the work physically, but we're GCing, we're general contracting, we're managing our own projects. This is where I can teach you elite skills, how to manage these projects. We're going to use this house as an example, but these are all the things that I teach in the course that get you guys up to speed, that make sure that you guys get value-based pricing, that you have a good project at the end, and most importantly, that you have some profitability there if you decide to flip the property. But let's roll real quick. I'm going to let's see how this works. We're going to share the screen. We're going to present. I need to see, no, share screen. Share screen. We are going to go to window. Here we are. Is that it? Is that the one we were looking for? Nope. Is that it? That's not it. Cancel. Give me just 1 second, guys. Let me just make sure I've got this. There we go. That's what I needed to do. Here we go. Boom. Now we can share. Hold on 1 second. We're going to share. Promise we're going to share. Let's see here. All right. Here we go. Here we're ready to share. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Share. There we go. Now we're going to share. Hey, guys. All right. You guys see what we're looking at here? Do you guys, everybody able to see the spreadsheet okay? I'll go off the first yes or hello. So I chat with Phil and he said they don't stock. Yeah, they don't. Are you sure? Some secret club. I can find out, Robert Farinelli. I'm pretty sure they do, but I'll double check. Can everybody see this okay? I'll go off the first yes. Fancy share. Look at you. Thanks, CJ. Appreciate that, buddy. I know this isn't even Zoom. This is actually something called StreamYard. So good. I'm glad the share is working. Fantastic. All right. So here's what we're looking at. You guys see it? It's small. Okay. Let me see if we can do a little bit of, let's see here. It's small. If you're watching it on your phone, that's why. A bit tough to see. Okay, good. Well, then we'll do this. We will. How about now? How about now? Good. It's almost like I know Freemasonry has its benefits. How's it good now? Yep, a little better. Well, I can blow it up like this. Here. Yeah, here's what I'll do. But this should be pretty big at this point, guys. It's fine. Kim Pigeon Zoom on the phone. All right, here we go. We'll go bigger. This is literally twice. This is, yeah, okay, good. All right, cool. All right, boys and girls, here we go. Let's see if I can actually do this. Give me 1 second here. There we go. Okay, so here is a typical budget setup. Works better with the computer? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but you can still look at this on your phone. You can see it okay. Again, this will be available in the document. Or in the video later. We'll make sure we post where you can download this doc. But here's where our budget is. So we have our clean out. You guys have seen the place. It needs to get a good clean out. There's a bunch of stuff that was left behind. We have demo work, which is about $1,200. We have demo work that's basically on top of what we did for the dormer. And again, demo work, the way that we figured out the clean out is the same way that we figured out the demo work. We know that we pay guys between $25 and $30 an hour for demo work. We know that we're probably about $225 a ton to get rid of stuff. So we just make it, it's a swag number, but based on my experience, I'm just like, yeah, you know, from a clean out perspective, you've probably got a day of 2 guys. So it might be 2 days worth of clean out work, and then filling the trailer and then getting it dumped. And so it's a little bit like the 15-yard trailer thing. You got it. Yep. Yeah. We use a 15-yard dump trailer. We do that because a dumpster, and you can find them in your area too for rent. A dumpster is going to be $650. Well, we're going to be $350 for the same amount of dumping. Same amount, 350 versus 650. It's a massive difference when you talk about you might have 3 loads or 4 loads. Well, now you're talking $2,000 versus $1,200. This is one of the areas that we save money, but you can find those. You can contract with them too. Look on like Facebook Marketplace. You can find these guys in a lot of places. You can find them like a gig where you just say, you know, trailer rental, and they'll say, hell, I'll even pick it up and I'll even drop it off for you. And they might charge you $100 to do that. Way cheaper than having a dumpster there. Trust me, way cheaper. Demo work, same exact thing. Like I said, 25 to $30. We're not demoing the whole space or the whole area. What we're really doing was we had carpet that we had to rip up and tack strips that we had to rip up. We had some peel and stick tile sheets that we had to rip up in the kitchen. There was some carpet downstairs that had to be ripped up. We're going to swap out all the doors. And so even just taking all the doors off their hinges and tossing them into the trailer, just taking all that stuff, pretty easy. But yeah, you're exactly right, Fire and Ice. One of the biggest expenses is getting rid of the crap. Well, this is how we do it. We found some cool things that are valuable, but we found a bunch of stuff that isn't valuable. That's fine. Goes in the 15-yard dumpster trailer. That's $200 to $250 to dump that thing. That's maybe a day's worth of work for somebody. At $25 an hour, that's $200. If it's two guys, it's $400, right? So it's $650, $6 to $650 a day. And like I said, I expected 2 days will be 100% done, and we're in pretty good shape. We've gotten a bunch of stuff basically moved from all around the house into one room. And then I'm basically just going to go through it, cherry pick the things that we can actually sell that might be worth something. And then the rest of it's going to get tossed. As you guys saw the pricing on the dormer was pretty straightforward. We had the conversation, with the contractor. When we had the conversation with the contractor, it was fairly straightforward. We went through it and said, hey, listen, this is what we're going to try and do. What do you think's a fair price? He hit me with $2,800. And I'm like, okay, I know this is probably about $1,000 worth of material. He's at $2,800. That's fair. That's a reasonable price. So I didn't even bother negotiating with him. And in fact, on that particular piece, I didn't get a second price because I know it was a good price. I just had a dormer done maybe 6 months ago, and I think it was almost $5,000, not including material. I was really happy with his price. But again, for you, if you're newer, get three quotes. The idea of the first week into a project, the whole goal of the first week is contractors, get quotes. That's the whole reason that we do this. That very first week, it's to set up your job for success for the rest of the job. Then you start talking about timeline. You start talking about availability. You start getting the prices in, and then you actually are able to form your hard budget. This budget, I came up completely from thin air, but it's because I've done this a bunch. The way that you come up with your budget is you need to actually have gone out there and met all of these people and gotten all these quotes, and you start to put the different prices in there. And I won't say that the low number wins all the time, but it wins a lot of the time, because if I know that they're a reputable company and I've checked out and they've gotten good reviews, if I've talked to other people and they said, yeah, I used them, they were great, all good things, then that's something that's good enough for me. So the dormer I felt pretty good about. Now what you'll see is here, I wrote a little note. See, I put in here trailer loads, put in here labor and disposal, put in here 2,800 labor plus material. I admitted that I overestimated, because if something goes wrong, I want to save that money, and I want to basically move that to a contingency area. I'll show you this. I'll skip ahead a little bit, but I want to move this to contingency area. See this? I have a contingency 10% number. I add up everything. I get a contingency number of about 10%, and I put that right in here. Why do I do that? Because you're always going to have overages. You're always going to have bigger issues that you weren't expecting. We've already run into one of those. I shared it with you guys briefly. I posted it on the Instagram. You guys should be taking a look at the Instagram, but I posted it on there. We had 6 layers of roofing. That's horrible. That's really bad news. 6 layers of roofing means one thing: 6 layers to strip. It also means 6 layers to throw out. Very, 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 very expensive. Now, how do I drastically reduce my cost? I have the 15-yard dump trailer. Now, again, you guys can hire that. You can bring somebody in and just say, leave it with me for the day. And when you take it away and you go to dump it, I'm going to, basically that you're taking it away. It's full of all the shingles and everything else that came off the roof. Guys, the original roofing was on there from 1900. The original roofing from 1900. It was a cedar shake roof. Yep, it was a cedar shake roof. And don't worry, we'll get to the front steps. They're not expensive, I promise. But yeah, you'll never see more than 3. Exactly right, CJ. There were 6 layers, and that didn't include the layer of cedar shakes. That's how crazy expensive this thing was. Check out the Instagram, Lumberjack Landlord. You guys will see a picture of what 6 layers of roofing looks like. You'll see that top layer of roofing had moss all over it. You'll see layer after layer after layer after layer. It's crazy. And Fire and Ice, you know why it didn't collapse. It's because it was all built with original 2x10s and 2x12s, actual 2 inches across, actually 12 inches tall or 10 inches tall. So the only reason that this roof didn't collapse is because it's made well. That's it. That's the only reason it didn't collapse. So the dormer, again, we overestimated, but there's going to be some money there left over. We'll bring it down. We'll put a separate line item. We'll say, hey, extra money. Now I'm saving and waiting on that just to make sure that there isn't any extra cost associated with the dormer. That being said, we've already, jumped to the roof. I'm going to wait for the roof for a quick second. The reason why the front steps seem expensive, Fire and Ice, is because I actually want to finish them because that's the gateway to the house. I don't want to finish them just in PT. I want to finish them in Trex. So I'd like to have, I want to have nice railings. I want to have the PVC railings. I want to have the nice Trex boards on the steps. I want to have a nice AZEK riser. So what we want to do is we really want to make that look beautiful. That alone could be $600, $800 of material. So that one might be a little bit light, but that's okay. If we look at the budget and it's really tight, we save doing the stairs until almost the very end because we don't want everyone knocking it, dropping stuff on it, anything like that happening. So we live with the stairs that are there now that are complete junk. We live with those now, but when we do change them out, we'll see where the budget is. Maybe we go for the gusto and we're able to do everything in Trex and sleeves and PVC like we want to. Maybe we can't. Maybe we're forced to go with, a $600 solution when it comes to doing it in pressure treated. So that's an option as well. But yeah, to that point, exactly right. Fire and Ice, it's curb appeal. So we have a higher number, admittedly, on the front steps. We have some flexibility there. The garage siding's $2,000. How did I come up with that? Well, the garage is about 6 square. We covered earlier what square is, 10 by 10. So if you're talking 10 by 10 and 6 square, what does that mean? It means that you have 6 10 by 10 squares of material that you're going to need. You're going to need what's called a starter edge. You're going to need what's called corners. You're going to need some J channel around the windows there. J channel is where the siding goes into, so it looks like it butts right into the window or the window frame. So when I went through the numbers, it's about 6 square. It's about 6 square of material. And right now, I'm paying about $110 a square for vinyl. So it's about $660 worth of vinyl. It's another $200 to $300 worth of other spare pieces and parts, starters and corners and things like that. And then I figure it's about $1,000. It's going to be about $1,000. It's going to be that entire team, 3 people, for probably a full day. So they're about $333 a day per person. But in a day, they're going to have that thing sided and all look pretty. The garage will look completely different. You won't even recognize it. Right now, it's this old, ugly shingle stuff. It's going to look beautiful in one day. When we start that project, it'll be done in a day. But the most important thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that the building is weather tight. We've got this dormer hanging on the roof or wide open on the roof. We've also, in that dormer number were the couple windows. I actually looked at it and I said, you know what? I budgeted $4,800. I need to buy a couple windows for this thing because we just don't want like darkness in the hallway with a light. Let's get some natural light in here. Let's light up this hallway. Guys, it's going to look killer with these 2 windows that I put in. And the 2 windows were about $225 a piece. So $450. So we got the $2,800 number and plus 450 is $3,250. And then I spent $730 is what I spent on the lumber. $730 is what I spent on the lumber for the dormer. Lumber, flashing, blah, 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 blah. And so right now we're going to be right around $4,000. So I think we got to have about $800 left over from the dormer, which pretty strong, right? So now let's go to the roof. The roof is the big one. You got to get weather tight. So we're talking about flashing. We're talking about ice and water shield, which goes on the first 2 layers or the first 2 rows of your shingles. You want that there because that's like a special, almost like a self-adhesive rubber membrane, if you will. That goes there to make sure that you don't get any ice dam buildup and things like that. Because if snow sits down there at the bottom, shingles aren't waterproof. You'll get some water that will melt between the seams. That's what the ice and water is for. It'll be there at the bottom. When it sits there and it melts, it's not going to end up getting into your house. It's not going to end up soaking your deck boards or your roof boards. And so then you have all the flashing. Flashing is basically, it's usually a metal material that they put around the chimney, that they put around any vent pipes that come up through your roof. You got to get that properly flashed. Otherwise water comes down. It's not watertight. So they actually water this metal flashing then gets put down and then gets either tarred down or adhesive down. And that makes sure that when water hits that, it's not going to leak. So that goes up around anything that protrudes out of if you look at a chimney, you'll see that there's usually like 6 or 8 inches of metal that come up around a chimney. That's usually either lead or it's some sort of flashing that's been put in place to ensure that you don't get when things melt, when the snow melts there, when you get heavy rain, make sure that you don't get leaking around your chimney. That's how it happens. Hey, Culp, good morning, sir. Or good evening. Sorry. Good evening, 9:30. So that's the roof, but we're around $4,000 for the roof. Houston, we have a problem. All the math was right. Price per square, price for material. I think the material ended up being, we were supposed to be only about, we were going to be about $2,000 in, about $1,500 in material and about $2,500 in labor based on the normal cost of things. However, 6 layers plus cedar shake layer. That's a lot more demo. It's a lot more demo. It's not 6 times the work, but it's probably triple the work. So that price is going up. That price is definitely going to be over budget. But guys, this is why we have the contingency right down here. That's why we have it. We got the contingency for this reason. So this is what's going to be what helps save us is that contingency piece. But again, it's important. That contingency piece is important, but that will save us from a way over budget thing. But we couldn't know that it was 6 shingles. When you look down at the end and I lift up the edge, I was like, okay, it looks like it's 3 layers. It's because they had kind of staggered the layers. And when they had put the top nail in like the 3rd one, it actually made it look like it was only 1 layer. So I was expecting 3 layers and I was like, yeah, that's fine. Like they're going to do it for about the same price. But when we went to 6 layers plus the cedar shake, because those things were stuck into the original 1900 barn boards, the original 1900 barn boards, rough cut, they were put on the roof. Original. They were still there. It's 124 years old, guys. So I don't want to hear about complaints of working on 1950s houses. This stuff is 124 years old. So, but we took care of it. We fixed it. We did it right. So this number is definitely going to go up, but we're going to have a little bit in contingency. We're going to have a little bit left over from the dormer. And again, I don't think we're going to be that far over. We're probably going to be about $1,000 over, maybe $1,500 over. But I've already had the electrician in. Here's the good news. The electrician was in. This number is not going to be $5,000. We're actually going to be able to revise that budget to about $2,000. That's going to be our all-in number. That means that, watch this. Here's what you do. You go like this. Additional electrical budget. Easy for me. And then you go right here and you go $2,000. Actually, we don't want to put it there. We put it over here. We put it over here. This is, I'm not sure it actually has this for a category. But yeah, because I think that's budget. I think that might be spent. Revised budget. Yeah, so revised budget here. But we'll find a place for it. We'll basically put 3K. We'll just add a column. I won't do that live. But here we go. $3,000. Yep. Oh, here's where I'll do that. We'll put it right here. $3,000. That's where we'll put it. That way down here, see, we'll get rid of this one. There we go. See, spent 262. Now we're all good. But we still will have $3,000 left in there. What we'll do is we'll make the note and we'll put it down here. 3,000. Now we'll create a category for that because obviously we want to put an additional contingency. We can always add it to this number, but then it's going to throw things off. So again, we want to do it kind of right of there. Now, we're looking at plumbing. Plumbing is going to be easy. I think plumbing is going to come in later than 3K. We've already got the heating system being cleaned. We've already got a new hot water tank in there, but we actually put that in there separately at $1,000. Bought the hot water tank, $550, good 40-gallon hot water tank. Get that in the basement, get it installed. piece of cake again. And we don't really have to do a whole lot of work replumbing it because the other one was already perfectly plumbed. All we're going to have to do is disconnect it there and move it to something else. And then we have the only problem was I think it was just a 15-gallon water tank, which is just way too small. Windows at $1,500. That's exactly where we're going to be. I took the 2 additional windows that I bought. I took those out of the dormer budget because they were for the dormer. This $1,500 is right on. We're going to special order a couple of windows because they're going to be egress windows for the bedrooms. And those are going to be about $300 a piece. And then the time to put those in, probably about $300 as well. Wealth of Rentals asks, what kind of pipes does it have? Not galvanized? No, not Galvy. No, if it were Galvy, we'd rip it. It's, for the one pipe steam, you've got black iron. For the plumbing, you've got a combination of PEX and copper. And for the drain lines, you've got your typical cast iron. So nothing Galvy there that we're concerned with that we're going to run into. Let's see. Is that Wealth Building Journey? Yep, it is. Oh, sorry, guys. Here we go. There we go. Oh, let me just get this back up. There we go. So planned budget is on the left. Actual costs are on the right. Yes, exactly right. It's exactly right, Wealth Building Journey. So here's what we have. We have the budget. This is the magic number that I came up with in my head based on my experience. Where you put the number that you put in here is the quote that you got that you decided and contracted with that guy to do the work. That's the number that goes in here. That's why the first week you're putting together your complete budget. My course teaches you how to do this in kind of some rough number type of stuff. That way you can get good at walking through the property and going, okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, this is what this is going to be. Okay, that's what that's going to, you get in the ballpark. I told you in the beginning of this project, I'm not going to be more than 5% off. I think I might have said 10, but let's just call it 5, between 5 and 10. I won't be more than 5 or 10% off. I won't be. That's how good at this I am. Imagine, I'm literally walking through a house. I put this budget together and I'm going to be within 5 or 10% of this number, just walking the house for 10 minutes. That's it. When you can do that, and that's a skill, yes, but it's a learned skill, guys. I'm not a contractor. I never made a dime doing contract work ever. I had to learn all this stuff out. That's what the course teaches you, but then this is what supports that from a process perspective. So then you have a revised budget. So as an example right here, electrical was $5,000 based on what I saw. But then when the electrician went through it, what did he say? He goes, you know what? You can use these cloth wires. And he goes, they're only to this one section. And he goes, and they're all in good shape. He said they all can be utilized. Nothing is bad here. And so I thought to myself, geez, you know what? It seems like a waste to spend $3,000 to swap out all those wires when they're all good. I said, you have no issues with them. He goes, no, none. He goes, they're into a recent panel. The connection's good. He said, I don't see any frays or marks or cuts. He's like, they're good. I wouldn't change them. Perfect. Save myself $3,000. So the plumbing I know is going to be high. I know for a fact the plumbing is going to be high. We're counting a vanity and a toilet in that. We're also counting, spraying the tub because we'll actually get the tub clean and spray the tub. So all of that number's in that, but I'd be shocked if we didn't have about $1,000 left over in that number too, just in case. We talked about the water heater, flooring, bathroom and kitchen in LVP, and floor sanding, including strips. So what we're talking about here is I've already measured everything off. Flooring in the bathroom, flooring in the kitchen. I figure that that's going to be about $2,800 with material. I think that number's way high, but I wanted to be way high because now I can go really high quality product. So I'm not spending too much on the labor. I'm spending too much on the product. I'm going high-end product because I'm going to put a brand new kitchen in this place and make it look unbelievable. It's going to blow your guys' mind. In fact, I just had professional pictures taken of my last project. Those will be getting posted on the Lumberjack Landlord on Instagram. I'll show you guys those projects, the befores and after. I have to build the slideshow, but I'll send you that, guys. I'll send you that project. It's going to absolutely blow your mind. It looks unbelievable. And my broker was just like, I cannot believe that's the same house. I sent it to a friend of mine. She had done some work in the house. I sent it to her. She goes, oh, that's cool. That's beautiful. Did you just buy this? I go, no, that's the house that you worked in. She goes, it isn't. I go, it is. I swear. She was blown away. She's like, there's no way that's the same house. I was like, it is. I don't know what to tell you. So again, from the floors perspective, this one's sanding floors, including strip. That's going to be the expensive part of this project. We're going to have to put a bunch of stripping down. We're going to have to make sure that we use paint stripper to get that stuff up. And then we'll scrape it, and we'll basically scrape until we'll basically keep on reapplying it. Might take 2, 3, 4 coats, but we'll keep on doing that until it's perfectly clear. And then when we go to sand it, it'll have already been perfectly cleared of any paint. It'll just be the base wood. Now, what we're finding so far is that the only place that we have that issue is upstairs. Those are 2 small rooms. I think we're going to be able to get out of this for less than $2,800. I always want to overshoot a little bit because I always want to have some leftover budget. So there's a very good chance we can get in under $64,000. But we'll wait and see. Wealth with Rentals, originally you were going to put LVP in the kitchen only. Yep. But if for some reason you found that the hardwood was damaged in one of the bedrooms, what would you do with the floors now? So even if that original hardwood was damaged, what we would do is we would just use a lesser grade. So instead of using like an A product, we might go down to like a B product, which will probably save us the amount of money per square foot to do the small amount of work that had to be done in the bedrooms, because the bedrooms aren't really that big. I think the bedrooms are, I think they're like 12 feet by 12 feet. I think is what we have for 2 bedrooms. We have 2 12 by 12 bedrooms. So it's 144 square feet per bedroom, 288 total square feet. So even if we're looking at, $5 a foot, you're looking at $1,500, and that $1,500 based on how big the kitchen and the bathroom are downstairs, we can go from an A-class flooring that might be $450 a foot. We can go down to like something that's $3 a foot. And now we can do everything. That's where there's some flexibility. So wealth with rentals, it's a really good question. But that's where there's a lot of give and take and ebbs and flows. And so if you hit the right number to start with, you can always work down from there, but you can also do some shifting. That's what this is. This is how CEOs work. Hey, this isn't going to work. We have a bigger problem over here. We have to put some more money into this. But this one, we overestimated a little bit because we thought we might need more, but this is something we can come back on because everything's going to be okay. And guys, again, we haven't actually done anything. We haven't done anything with the contingency fund. Robert Fernelli, RRP, how much of that is involved here? We don't have any paint. All the paint that we have is in the section that was redone where they just used cheap trim. So we're able to rip that stuff off because it's all latex paint. And they pulled the permit. They redid that room in like redid those windows in 1991. So there's going to be limited work there. There will be some, but it's going to be pretty limited. Yeah, won't be too much. That was one of the reasons I love the house. A lot of the trim upstairs isn't painted, it's wood. So that's what makes life easy. And the few things that are upstairs and painted, it looks like they were done about the same time. Okay, so grade B of hardwood, not hardwood. So we're probably going LVP, but we'll do nicer LVP. In those spaces upstairs, when we check them, the good news is they're good. They're good. So now that number is going to get to come down because we can still go high end in the kitchen. I don't have the exact measurement of the kitchen, but I'm thinking that and the bathroom are probably about 300 square feet is my guess. And so that means, we can go with install costs us a couple bucks a foot for a good installer. We can get cheaper installers at $1.25 and $1.50, but they kind of suck at it. They're not very good. They go too fast. They don't actually, do cut-ins properly. And because they're just speed, get out of there. No lead obviously makes it a less expensive project, but that's why I knew I could do the budget for what I did the budget for. So that's a big piece of it. But you'd be surprised. We buy a lot of stuff with wood trim where there's just no lead. It's just regular wood trim. And it's just, the natural wood showing. That's why I like those houses very often. When you walk through and it's all wood trim, you're just like, well, that's okay. None of this stuff is lead. So that's one of the things that's a big win for sure. But that's why we picked the project. Let's see. So sanding the floors, we talked about that, stripping those cabinets, counters, and installs. Again, I just base it on the amount of linear feet that we're working with there. I know about what a kitchen is going to cost. What if some pieces of hardwood were damaged in an area? Where can you find a replacement? So with any of those woods, we just take whatever species is there. We take the damaged piece, we actually cut it out and we pull it. And then we'll actually just bring it to like a salvage place, or we look up online, anybody that has, old rough cut lumber or things like that we know is tight grained, and we'll just bring it there and we'll match it. That's it. It's pretty simple. Takes a little bit of time. It's that will run you a couple of hours of time, but you can find replacements for any of this wood. The biggest issue is that you can't find 1,000 square feet. That's a problem. When you go to do that, you're talking about super expensive homes that go and buy this reclaimed wood, and they'll spend $14 a foot. But when you need to go replace a couple pieces, it's really not a big deal. You can go find the stuff and you can replace the piece for maybe 50 to 75 bucks. So it's inexpensive. We actually keep a lot of our stuff. So when we we'll reclaim some of the floors that we have, and we'll just have, 20 or 30 boards left over. We'll go try and match it to that and see if that works. A lot of times it does. And if in case that it doesn't, still a little bit of character, because again, it's still all of those woods are still a couple hundred years old and been harvested in the last, 150 years. But it's still tight grained and it's still a decent match, looking antique. But yeah, we've had to replace little pieces here and there. Sometimes we don't even replace the pieces. We let the piece stay there where they repaired it, even with a different species of wood, because it tells the story. It's character. In these old homes, a lot of people like that character. But the cabinets and counters with install, $6,500. It's a big kitchen. So I'm expecting the cabinets are going to run probably between cabinets and counters are going to run between, 4,500, I'd say 4,500 and 5,000. And I think the install is going to take, one of our skilled guys, probably 2 days to install. And that's pretty much it. I mean, the cabinets aren't rocket science, and the floor will be in pretty good shape because we will have taken out the old boxes and put down nice new floor all across everything. What we do is we actually, when we take out the cabinets, we actually floor the entire floor. That way, if anybody ever takes the boxes out, guess what? If they go with some different configuration or different box, they're not like, what am I going to do? I don't have anything to cover this space where there's no flooring. We put flooring down across the entire floor. That makes it look 1,000 times better. Yeah. And makes it future-proof. That's what we're trying to do. So appliances, $3,000 is a fairly generic package. It's not a super high-end house. It's going to be about a $300,000 house. So if we figure $3,000 between fridge, stove, microwave, and dishwasher, that's a pretty good package for $3,000. You can wait for a Black Friday Sunday. You can wait for a big holiday Sunday. I'll still buy GE or Whirlpool or Maytag and not buy LG or Samsung. But that's the price that you can do that for, $3,000 for a new kitchen. Have I ever run into parquet floors? Oh, for sure. Yeah. Parquet, herringbone. The herringbones are cooler. In fact, Fire and Ice, if you look at my last one, that was actually space patterned design, which is more annoying to work with because the repairs are nearly impossible. Parquet is more repairable. I've run into parquet. I don't love parquet. So a lot of times with parquet, we'll rip it up. We don't love parquet. Or, it's a taste thing, but we don't love parquet. So a lot of times we'll rip those up. Parquet looks like the Boston Garden floors. They're usually squares about this. They're usually, 5x5 or 6x6 or 4x4 squares. Not a fan. So a lot of times we'll get rid of those a lot of times. Heat system, cleaning and repair. It ran. It hasn't been cleaned in like 3 or 4 years. We're going to get it cleaned and see how it goes. What we'll do is when we have it cleaned, cleaning's about $300 for an oil system. Cleaning's about $300. When he goes in, we'll make sure he replaces, all the sparks in the burner, which is basically what shoots out and then ignites the oil to then, get heat going in the chamber that then creates steam that then, warms your house. So we just put $1,000 in there just in case. Cause I'll say, hey, listen, change out the sight glass where you can see the water level, change out the sight glass, change out the burner components, change out all the nozzles, and then give it a cleaning. Well, now at that point, we've upgraded all of the fault issues with the system. We're in a lot better shape now. But again, I don't think I'll spend $1,000, but if I do, it's there. I just want to make sure that whatever we do with this house, we've either cleaned it for our future tenant or we've cleaned it and we make sure that when the house gets inspected that it wins with flying colors. Structural work, $2,500. So we put this in there because I've got a slant to one of the floors that I don't really like. I believe that we can repair it for less than this. But I left it in there just in case we can't. I left it in there because I think that was the prudent thing to do. Let's see. Driveway. Yeah, driveway I left in there is optional. Now it's still counting towards the $64,000, but that's something that we can quickly take away. We can just get somebody to come in here and grade it and compact it, and that would be good enough. We use something called hard pack. I'd like to put a driveway in, but we don't have to put a driveway in. It gives us more curb appeal, but it's not a must. So if we run into something that's going to cost us a lot more money, then we won't do the driveway. However, there's high likelihood that we'll do the driveway. Tree work is $3,000. That's just based on my experience. I think we're going to be around that. We already are going to have a wild card there because my number was right until the neighbor came out and goes, "Hey, that's your tree too." I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Yeah, that's on your property. It's just leaning on mine." I'm like, "Okay." So the tree guy is like, "That's a big one." It is a big one. That tree's like 75 feet tall. That's going to be brutal. So that probably added about $1,000. We're going to have to fall it, cut it up, the whole 9 yards. But you know what we'll do? Because we have the 15-yard dump trailer, we'll actually take all the wood so they don't have to dispose it. So that's one of the ways we've actually gotten the price down. They'll basically cut the pieces. We'll take them all. We'll put them in the truck, and then we'll bring them somewhere that uses it for firewood. We've got employees that have wood stoves. We'll give it to them. Just give it to them. Hey, here you go. Here's a cord of wood. Seasoned cord of wood is probably about $300 right now where we are. So it'll be good. Will you install a black splash in the kitchen? Oh yeah, for sure. Yep. That's part of the cabinets counters with install. When we talk about cabinets and counters, we're talking about the entire kitchen experience. So absolutely, we're going to be doing that. Yep, for sure. Carpentry. Yeah, $6,000 for carpentry. The big cost there is the 9 doors. Each of those doors is about $250. So we're looking at half of that budget being spent on doors. There's going to be a little bit of money spent on trim. There's going to be a little bit of money building out a closet because we have this like weird hallway. It's the hallway to nowhere. It goes from the kitchen space to the front entranceway, but you have the massive entranceway that goes into the living room that goes into the entryway. It's just wasted space. So what we're probably going to do there, we're probably going to put washer and dryer in the basement, but we're probably going to put a bathroom first floor right there that can be like a guest bathroom. That way you actually have another toilet in the place. So we can add a second bathroom and we can do it pretty inexpensively, I think. And putting it right over by the entrance means that the one for the home can be shared for just the home. That's going to up the value. And how expensive is that going to be? Toilet's a few $100. Adding the fixture, that's where we might spend about $1,000. Adding that into the line, and with supply lines, which bring the water, but also with the drain lines that make sure to take it away. But that's likely what we're going to do is we're going to likely add a bathroom and add a whole lot of value. Then we have the contingency, like we talked about, which is $6,300, which I don't see. I see that we're going to maybe dip into it for some things, but I think we're going to be able to recover and take some things out of other stuff. Did I get a new survey map? Nope. New surveys are really, 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 really expensive. Where we are, you'll spend between $3,000 and $5,000 on a survey. Don't care. What do I need it for? The only reason that you really need that is if you're going to add to the property. That's it. Usually what they have from a tax card perspective is usually pretty accurate. You look at what the tax card is, and then you look at what your deed is, where it actually measures things off, and then you just find the pins. On almost all of these, you'll always find the pins. You'll always find the markers. It's usually not a difficult thing because at one time they did do that deed, and at one time they had those things there. But yeah, very often where I'm not looking to do surveys because they're $3,000 and they don't add a whole lot of value. Nice, simple spreadsheet. That's the idea, guys. That's the idea. I've seen some spreadsheets, not naming any names, but I've seen some spreadsheets that make me cry. They make me cry. This is an easy spreadsheet. Here's my original budget. Here's the number it's going to go to when we have to revise it. Here's how much we actually spend. And then it totals down here. So we see exactly how much money we've spent. Now, then we look at this piece over here, remaining budget. That gives us a good idea of what we have left sitting there. Good point in the survey. I didn't do it for 2 properties. Yeah, I wouldn't do them. I think they're too expensive. And again, just look at what the tax map says and then look at what the deed says and then look for your pins. And when you find that, generally speaking, you're going to find what you need. Now, if you're going to go build an ADU, you're going to have to get it surveyed. You are. If you're going to have to build an addition, you have to have it surveyed. But that's where, again, what is my goal with the property? My goal is to not build an ADU because I already know that this is in a zone where ADUs are not approved because I don't have the size lot that I need. I'm not going to go get a variance because they're not going to give me a variance to build another piece of property on here. So I just take it for what it is. I bought it knowing that it couldn't have an ADU. There's always a chance where maybe I missed something, but after doing more research and talking to the town, they're just like, no, it doesn't have enough. You don't have enough ground. Lin Tang, where do you order your doors? So I order them through the lumberyard, but most doors are going to then be ordered through a company called Brosco, BROSCO. They're one of the country's largest door makers, and most lumberyards carry their lines because Brosco doesn't sell directly. They only sell through lumberyards, largely speaking. Before I shut the budget, does anybody have any more questions on the budget? Fire and Ice. Had to get survey maps because they dissolved the village. Oh, and at some point the pins weren't easily visible. Yep. Village lost the maps per the town. They run $800 each there. Yeah, that's great. So that's the other thing too is, pardon the pun, but it's kind of a cottage industry, not a village industry. It can become a cottage industry when something like that happens, when you go through that town being reincorporated or becoming a city or whatever, or there's a fire at the town hall before they actually back stuff up. All of those things are possible to happen. And then usually there's a few people that jump in and they've done so much work there that they can do them for short money. I did a survey. When did we do that one? I did one maybe, I'd say within the last year we did one. Yeah, within the last year we did one. It was around $3,500. It's expensive. Have you adjusted budget for higher roof expense? Yes. So we don't know what the final higher expense is. I should have all those numbers in, but we bought a bunch of material. The biggest issue that we had was extra stripping, 6 layers. But then when we got down to the base deck, guess what? It was all the old original barn board. Now, that's a fine product. The problem is it's 124 years old. You'd be an idiot to not resheet the roof. So I resheeted the entire roof with all brand new plywood. Now, labor-wise, yeah, that usually runs about $50 a sheet. Well, usually what they do is they'll charge you $100 a sheet. The piece of plywood costs you about $50 and the labor is about $50, or the piece of plywood's $30 or $40 and the labor is $50 or $60. It's usually about $100 a sheet. And this would have been about 38 sheets. So it would have crushed the budget. However, recognizing with them, I just said, hey, listen, you guys have already done the dormer here. You guys can stay an extra few days because they're framers and roofers. Let's work out a number. So we worked out a number that I was pretty comfortable with. And I think when it's all said and done, I think we might be about $1,500 over. Or maybe 2,000 over, maybe $2,000 over. But again, that's what the contingency's for. You couldn't tell that there were 6 layers. You couldn't tell that the first layer was the cedar shakes. Couldn't tell that when we got down to the base, we couldn't tell that we were going to run into, the original barn board that had never been resheeted before. Couldn't tell. So that's why you have a contingency. So I think we'll probably dip into the contingency, but I think we saved enough on electrical. And I think we saved enough on plumbing, and potentially driveway. I mean, I see that I've got probably $9,000, $10,000 maybe to play with, between contingency, electrical, and a little bit left over in plumbing. I probably have $10,000 to play with. So I'm not overly concerned. I'm probably going to get 2 of it out of that. But yeah, that's where we're going to find that extra money is, again, playing this game, doing it the way that we're talking about. Does the dormer include house wrap and siding? Yep. Well, that was in the materials. So it included the labor to do that, but yeah, it's in the materials. Wealth of Rentals. I like the contingency in the plan. Hey guys, guess what makes the bank let them know that you know what you're doing? How does the bank know you know what you're doing? When you give them a budget like this that shows them that you have a contingency. I'm not joking. It's the number one thing I see when people try and underwrite deals. They have $0 in there for contingency. None, nada, zippo, zilch, Nothing. So you guys have done so many projects that they go perfectly. You've never had an overage in price. Of course you have. Of course, almost everybody has. When you get good at this, you can estimate the number. You can get the pricing lower because you know the areas that you can reduce cost. This is how it's done. You then create, with each project you complete, you create a little bit extra money. You know, as these things start to close out on the clean out, I'm probably going to be ahead on the clean out. I'm probably going to be about even on the demo. I'm going to be ahead on the dormer. The front steps we're going to wait on. The garage, I'm going to be probably right. The roof, we're going to be behind on. The windows are good. The plumbing, we're going to be ahead on. The electrical, we're going to be way ahead on the electrical because we already have the final number. I know that we're spending $2,000 there. It's not going to exceed that. And that's going to be, guys, that's my lumberjack package. That's 4 brand new pancake lights. These are lower ceilings. They're only about 7-foot ceilings. So we're taking all the dome lights and we're getting all of those out of there. So we're going wafer lights everywhere. We're going to have 4 in the living room. We're going to have 1 in the entryway. We're going to have 6 in the kitchen. We're going to have 1 in that other tweener space. We're going to have 2 in each bedroom, 2 downstairs, 2 upstairs in both of those bedrooms, and then the bathroom. The bathroom's going to have an exhaust fan, so we don't need to worry about lights there. But guys, think about that. That's, I think 16 lights is what I just named off, 16 or 17. We're going to be under $2,000 for the material, the wire, all the labor, all the install. That's going to be everything all in. And we're going to be under $2,000. And that's not a horrible number. Does a house need insulation? How do you check that? So yeah, so one of the things that we took out some insulation when we were doing the dormers. You can get, we have like a cheap infrared camera just where you can see hot spots and not hot spots. It's got insulation in the walls. Yeah, it's got insulation in the walls. Not concerned at all about insulation. This one, the reason we liked it was because they'd already pulled a permit. They'd done about $5,000 or $6,000 worth of electrical work. They'd sheetrocked a bunch of rooms, not all of them, but a bunch. The downstairs was a lot redone. But the upstairs wasn't. The upstairs is all original horsehair plaster. Now we're going to rip off all the paneling that's up there. You know, that's part of the demo. We'll rip off all that stuff, but that literally took, like an hour to rip off all the paneling and the trim that was there. Ripped up the carpet. We see the floors. The floors are going to need stripping. But again, not a big deal. We'll just lay them down. We'll put plastic up. We'll lay them down and scrape those things. But again, we're not scraping for friction. We let the solution do all the work, because it's wet when you scrape it up. Let's see. So no insulation. How do you check that? Like I said, they make these cameras that attach right to the bottom of your phone where you can then just take your regular camera and look at it and you can see it, no problem. You can also look in the basement. You can also look in the attic cap space. You'll find it in these homes. The other thing you can do too is that once you own it, like we always, with a lot of these older homes, there's always somewhere we can find to take a peek at it. Sometimes it's in the basement, sometimes it's in the attic, sometimes it's in a closet. But we always find a spot where we can look at an external wall. Any other questions on the budget before we jump out of the budget and we just jump into talking more about the project? I'll give you guys just a minute or so on that while I'm waiting for a question. Oh. Let's see. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Matt, did you see my questions about I didn't see your question about the schedule. Hold on. Let me look up. Oh, sorry. This is part of the initial walkthrough. And then after adding in the cost estimates and 10% tolerance, would you add in a schedule to limit overruns? The challenge that you have with creating a schedule is that I don't know when I'm hiring a crew. If I'm not gonna hire like a 6-person crew that's gonna be done in 2 days because they don't like these kind of jobs and they only give me 2 people anyway. And so you can have a general idea when you talk to people, say, okay, when do you think you'll be in to do it and how long do you think it's going to be? And then you can manage them to that. So these guys were supposed to be in there for 3 days for the dormer. Dormer was done basically in 2. They were mostly done in 2. And then the third, then they started doing some of the roofing stuff. And so there was a little bit of bleed there. But they'll be done by the end of the day tomorrow. That thing's going to be water weather tight in all likelihood. I think that thing's going to be done. And if not, Saturday, that thing will be done. So then we are weather tight. We've got windows in, we've got roofing in, and now we start, boom, down the rest of the house. Now we can start talking about, when the trees are going to get done. I actually have the tree guys coming to take a look this Saturday. So they're going to come and give me a number, get in there with the crane. And honestly, I can't wait to get those things out because that's going to probably be the biggest change on the outside of the house, not even the roof. I took an intro to PM class, and this is a master class in expert project management. Thank you very much, Chester. I appreciate that wealth building journey. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I've done this a few times. And so I think a lot of those PMP, we used to call them pimp classes. I think a lot of those PMP classes, you can be a PMP and that's fine, but it is no substitute for experience. Some of the best project managers I've ever seen in my entire life have none of those initials after their name. It's just because they've done it. They've done the work. They've been in the trenches. So having those conversations, here, I'll stop sharing this, guys. Having those conversations, with your contractors is critical. That's critical to your success. Really understanding what that's going to look like, timeline wise, product wise. In a bigger project, with this being such a small project, I don't need to do a bunch of the penalties for delays type of thing. I can just say, okay, I'll let you know within a week or 2 when it's going to be your turn. I just need it done within a week after, I need to be in your schedule within a week or 2. And then I need you completed within a week after that. And everyone's like, oh no, that's fine. That's plenty of time. Everything's going to go a whole lot faster than that. Guaranteed will go a whole lot faster than that. So yeah, so the project's going great. I'm looking forward to it. Chester says, or Wealth Building Journey says, exactly. That's why this is pure value. Absolutely love it. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do for you guys. We're literally rehabbing this thing together. You guys are seeing step by step everything that happens. The really cool thing about this is as we continue to roll and as we continue to do the project, you're going to see the maturation of the project. Like you saw how nasty, disgusting that place was. Well, we'll eventually get somebody in to just douse all the walls and watch that horrible, disgusting nicotine roll off the walls. And then we'll have them come in, spray it. I think that I didn't have one of the things that I didn't have in there was a final paint number. I probably should have put a paint number in there. So that's going to have to come out of contingency. But again, I think I picked up about 8 or 10 grand. That was just something that was an oversight on my part. So I'm going to have to add the painting piece, but that painting is going to be maybe $3,000 tops, maybe $3,000 tops. It's not going to be anything more than that. Probably less. So they'll be able to get through that house pretty quick. Yeah. They'll be able to get through that house pretty quick. But that'll be the last step. Is we'll be painting that house at last. So, feel pretty comfortable with where things are. We've gotten a lot of our numbers in. We've had a lot of the meetings with the different project guys, with the different GCs, or with the different vendors and subcontractors. I feel like we're in really good shape. I think this project is going to be a winner. I think that, in all honesty, I can probably make $100,000 off this deal. Now, when I sell it, I'll 1031 it if I decide to sell it. If I look at it and go, yeah, you know what? Let's refi it. If rates are really good, let's refi it and then rent it out. What are rents going to be at that time? We make that. Now, we recognize walking into this project that we have both of these ideas. Now, we're looking at the numbers of being probably, like we said, with what I paid for it, closing costs, and what I'm putting into it budget-wise. We figured that that we were going to be right around, 215,000, right around there. Because again, what we want to do is we want to recognize, hey, if we decide to cash out refi this, we're going to need it to come in at 300. and we're going to need our 310. We're going to need to come in around there to then be able to pull out the 214, which is everything that we have into it. But again, that's interest, and that's a mortgage now on the property. But now I get the money and I don't pay any taxes, because all I'm doing is levering my property. So we'll see. So maybe, yes, you can do this with some money up front and a 1031 exchange, but there's high likelihood that if I refinance it and rent it out, that I can probably rent it out. I'll probably have $0 out of pocket, but most importantly is I'll still make, we'll see what the rents are then. Can I make $400 or $500 on a single family house? If I can, and then make $6,000, yeah, maybe it makes sense. But we'll look at those numbers, because we got to see what rents are like at the time. That's why the key for us is we want to finish this thing by the end of January. I think we're going to be way ahead of schedule, but we'll see. We'll see. Right now, we're making a ton of progress. Roof, dormer, all that stuff is going to be done this week. Windows are going to be installed. And that means, and then electric is going to be done next week. Demo is going to be finished this week. All that stuff will be out and gone. So electric will be done. Demo will be done. Clean out will be done. Roof will be done. Dormer will be done. Guys, this is week one. This is week one. Wealth of rentals. Do you have competition with other investors when buying this house? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Tons. Yep. And that's where you go in and you sell yourself. I've done this before. I've got the cash to buy it. And the cash wasn't cash. The cash was a 1031 exchange. But you can tell them, hey, if you need to close in 30 days, no problem. That's why you have a relationship with a bank and not just a broker. A broker is not going to be able to go, oh yeah, you can close in 30 days. No, they're not. They're not. A bank that knows the mechanics behind this, they're going to be able to close in 30 days. Yep, for sure. So that's where the value is. Yeah. You still got it for a great price? Sure. You make part of your money when you buy, for sure. Yep. Absolutely. You don't buy a dog and make money, so but that's the thing is, all people that say, oh, there's no deals. No, there's no deals on the MLS. That's the problem. That's one of the things that I teach you guys is, how am I buying my properties? Wholesalers, auctions, word of mouth, MLS, off-market listings, tax liens where the city's actually taking it back. Network, just the network. I met with another broker a couple days ago. She's like, oh yeah, there's this one, blah, blah, blah. What do you think? And I was like, not what I'm looking for, but thank you. I want something else kind of like that, just not in that town. So we have all that, but yeah, yep. You'll eventually get deals like this that will come across the screen for sure. This was a newer wholesaler. It was a newer wholesaler. That's part of it. But yeah, bought it for the right price. You make part of your money when you buy, but then you make the next stack of money with how well you manage the project. And then you make your next stack when you exit, and that exit could be exiting into it being a rental, or exiting it and it was a flip. We'll see, if I believe Kamala Harris has said that she's going to do $25,000 as a down payment assistance and money to buy a house. Well, if she gets elected and that happens, all of these single family assets that I have are worth 25 grand more. It's economics. It's math. I'm not trying to be hateful. It's just economics. She doesn't understand economics. So that's the first thing. Second thing is if Trump gets elected, I believe that they're going to do something to spike the economy. And I think that they're going to take some pressure off of people. Because they know that the only way to get out of the situation that we're in is growth. Well, the only way that you create growth is by creating people that are making more and keeping more of their money. That's how you create growth. That's how you create that growth engine. Again, just economics. But that's one of those things. So we'll take a look. We'll watch it, but we'll see where we're at. And what is it? 35 days from now or something, 33 days, whenever that election happens, whoever gets elected, that's going to give you a pretty good idea. That's why a lot of people are waiting right now. I think a lot of first-time home buyers are waiting right now to see if she gets elected because they want the 25 G's, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. Either way, we'll win. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. So we have ideas on how we're going to exit. An exit just means, do we sell it? Do we refi it? Do we refi and rent it? Is it going to be an actual BRRR? Don't know. We'll see. Look up bell. Do you have a question? I don't know what the bell is. Like a bellman. Ding, 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 ding. So I like this project. It'll be good. And I think we had another one that we looked at behind it. Didn't love it. It was pretty expensive. It's a 4-unit. It was like $850,000. I'm acknowledging you're correct about redeploying return on investment. Oh yeah. Thank you. Yes, I got it. Now you're doing one of these. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. Got it. Good. Got it. Good. Daryl Strong. I closed on my first investment property last month at $64,000. Congratulations. Well done. 2-bed, 1-bath. Love it. I renovated it for $25,000 and used a credit card. Yep. I believe I paid too much for the reno. Tenant pays $1,300 per month. Yeah, maybe. You might have. So, what I always look at is what's the percentage of what you're spending based on the asset price. So if you paid 64, you spent 25, then you essentially spent 40% of the value of your property on the rehab. 40% is a big number because in this particular case, I bought it for 150, but you know what? I'm putting 60 into it. The issue is what's the ARV? Is the property now worth 110,000, 100,000? Well, then I don't think you did too bad. Because if you're at about 90 and you created 10% equity on your money, that's pretty good. The credit card thing might be the challenge because you're going to be paying a higher rate. So the question is will you be able to, refi out of that? That's where the ARV matters. Where's this thing going to end up ARV wise? Julie Anderson, houses will go up more than $25,000 by the time she will be sworn in. Oh, absolutely. Of course. In anticipation of them getting their $25,000. Yeah. I'd still like to see how she's going to do it because I don't know how she's going to do it, but we'll see. But yeah, you're exactly right, Julie. It'll go up more than $25,000. That's why the single family houses I have, if they sell, when the election happens, if she wins, then they'll be worth more than $25,000 more. If Trump wins, they'll then sell because it's decided and people will know, okay, I'm not getting $25,000. Now we just got to spend, but here's our number. Wealthy Rentals. How many contractors are too many to bring together to bid on a project the same time and why? I don't like more than 3. I think 3, you start to muddle things. 3, you come across as just shopping everybody. But 3 is fair. You can just tell them, hey, I'm going to get only a couple other quotes. I feel comfortable with these other folks I've invited in. You feel comfortable with them based on the phone conversation. Did they get back to you? If they can't get back to you and they're trying to earn your business, I got bad news. They're not going to get back to you when they've earned your business. So you want somebody that's at least going to be attentive on that front. But yeah, I think 3 is enough for any part of the job. And that's why my very first week, I had talked to a couple of electricians. One guy was really pretty busy. He's like, yeah, I can do it, but it's probably gonna be about $5,000. I'm like, that's too high. And then the electrician that we used, he's like, actually, I've got some time over the next week. And he goes, and then I'm into something for 2 or 3 weeks. So it was perfect. So just to recap, Phil explicitly said it's only MDF product you buy. I don't know. I don't believe that's correct, but whatever Phil says. If she wins 1 million triplexes in Manchester and I'll be effed. No, I'm telling you, they're not going to be $1 million. They're not. The rents can't support it. And that's what matters. The rents can't support it. And there aren't people with $1 million paying cash for triplexes in Manchester. They're likely buying, they're buying anything else. It's not going to happen. $1 million triplexes in Manchester ain't going to happen. Even if rates go to 5, still not going to happen. The rents can't carry it. The rents can't support it. Look at what the eviction numbers are in Manchester right now. Literally, look at what they are. There are so many evictions in that court system right now. It's blinding. there's going to be a lot of vacancies with people getting evicted because they can't afford the rents. And so what are landlords going to do going in the wintertime? They're going to drop the rent. They're going to have to. And that means that they're now losing money, which means that when somebody goes to evaluate the deal, they're going to be like, well, that's not making enough to expect $1 million deal. Telling you, no $1 million triplexes. Now, is it possible that somebody could take a single building and make it and deck it out like it's downtown or it's on one of the hills down looking the river? Well, yeah, it's possible that there's right. And it might be one that's like 1,500 square feet per floor and 4 bedrooms. And they do all these amazing fixes or amazing features to it. It's got view. It's got this. It's got that. Sure, that's possible. But when I'm talking about opening up MLS and seeing $1 million try, $1 million try, $1 million try, never going to happen. Never going to happen. You're decades away. Decades. There's going to be a correction in that market because people can't afford those rents. And Manchester is a blue collar city. So yeah, you'll just have to wait and see that I'm right. They're the ones that fall the most in a market correction. Manchester falls the most every single time. There was stuff going for 50% off in Manchester. Nothing like that on the Seacoast. Nothing. Any other questions before we call it a night? Is everybody excited about the project? Excited? I'm excited. Tomorrow, I'm expecting probably around 10 o'clock. Don't know when, but probably around 10 o'clock is when I'll be walking over there. And you guys will see the progress on the roof. You'll see the finished dormer. Well, as far as like finished framing of the dormer. The yard's going to be all cleaned up. Better be. But yeah, we'll see. Wealth Rentals. Schrock will have its own stock exchange soon. It seems like this will have a good impact. Texas will have its own. Yeah, maybe. I mean, Boston has its own stock exchange. So does Philly. Yeah. Crimson. I already see a lot of vacancies on Zillow, but I believe people are buying even if rents drop or are vacant because the attitude in RAIN groups is buy. Yeah, but I'm telling you, they're going to lose because those vacancies, the vacancy is double in Manchester what it is almost anywhere else in the state. And there's more evictions per capita in Manchester than there is anywhere else in the state. I'm telling you, there's a bite coming. It looks exactly like it did. There's a bite coming. People can't afford those crazy rents in Manch on their blue collar salaries. They can't. So there's a bite coming. It's going to hurt and it's going to drive down the values because people need to get the income. It's going to drive down the values based on what people can actually acquire the property for, even at 5 or 5.5%. That's what'll happen. REI groups, people who will pay anything. Yeah, but they can't pay anything. That's the issue. The bank has to be willing to let them pay that. And the banks pull back. When they start seeing things, they've already pulled back. People with 600 credit scores aren't getting the loans that they used to, and they're paying a premium. I talked to a bank today based on if your credit is in the 6s and you're trying to buy a multifamily property, non-owner occ, you're 775. Not good. Yep. And thank God I have a rental in an A neighborhood in Manchester. Yeah, the one that you have is great. It's in an A. It's in an A neighborhood. It's all redone. That's going to be a solid rental. But that's where all these marginal ones, and especially the ones in the C's and the D's, which there's plenty of that in Manchester, I'm telling you, those are going to tank. They're going to tank. Yeah, not good. How long should, let's see, Daryl Strong, how long should I wait to get the rental mentioned earlier appraised and refinanced? Okay. Do I have to wait a certain period of time? It depends on what kind of loan you bought it with. If you bought it with like an FHA loan, usually it's 6 months, or a VA loan, usually it's 6 months. Some programs make you wait a year, because that appraisal sticks with it for that long. But that's where you start shopping. You pick up the phone, you start calling mortgage brokers tomorrow. You start calling small local banks tomorrow. That's what you should be doing. You hustle, start calling these banks for sure. Absolutely for sure. Rates, if you bought it a month ago, you maybe bought in the low 7s, maybe high 6s. You might be in the low 6s now. Yeah. For a refinance, who knows? But you start making those phone calls now. Small local banks, 2 million assets, 2 million and 2 billion in assets under management, 2 billion in assets under management. You start making those phone calls and say, "Hi, I'm a local investor. I have a house over here. I'd like to look to do a cash out refi after a massive, went through it. We've gone through everything. We've graded everything. That's why I like the construction loan, because you've already had all those conversations up front. But congratulations on the one that you did buy. Now you start making the phone calls, putting some relationships together, and seeing what you can get for a refi. They might tell you, you know what? We can't touch that for 3 months. We can't touch it for 6 months. We can't do this. We can't do that. So that's what you have to watch for. Yep. That's what you have to watch for. Conventional. Okay, good. Yeah. Then you definitely have some more, leverage and some more space to maneuver. So I'd be calling all the places you can call and say, hey, what are my options for a refinance? That's what you want to be looking at. Yep, for sure. And you want to be able to look at what your comps are based on all the rehab that you did and how nice it came out. What does the other stuff? Do a rent box. Like I teach in the course, do a rent box, figure out what the other rents are. Make sure you're good at 1,300, or, hey, I have this ability to raise it to 1,500 in the spring. These are my costs. These are my expenses, but that's what you want to be looking at. Yeah. Credit card's kind of last resort to doing a project like that, because you could be stuck in a really high rate of debt that's going to probably cost you more in interest. But if you got like a 0% for a 12-month thing, then now the clock is ticking and you just got to start to get moving. So yeah, $2 billion assets under management, be calling all those banks and just asking them what programs they have for a refinance. And just let them know you put a ton of money into the property. And what's that ARV now? Run some of those numbers. Look at what some of the stuff is selling for that looks like that property in that area. Definitely do that. Let's see. Fire and Ice. This sold house is very motivating. For our own gut rehab going on right now. That's awesome. I have one side rented out for January. Congratulations. That's awesome. Yeah, that's why I wanted to do this. I want to do this for you guys. It's not because I needed to do another one. Common Sense REI. So no dock workers there then. No, yeah. Well, the funny thing is dock workers, for those of you who don't know, that's a mid 6 figures job for a lot of them. That's a really well-paying job. The issue is that there's going to be a lot more automation in that space. NVIDIA said it today or yesterday. They're looking at industrial AI, and that means a lot of this stuff is autonomy driving, and you can be like almost on tracks with this stuff. So the shore workers, honestly, you better figure it out. Because $250,000 for some of these crane operators, that's not going to fly in 5 years. It's just not. They're going to have people that are doing stuff AI and managing and fixing those. I'd skill up in something else. Dock workers delaying strike until after the election. Oh, interesting. Lin Tang. Yes, excited. My husband kept asking me if Lumberjack was live, that he was missing. Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate that. And husband as well. Yeah, we're going to go live tomorrow. I want to show you the updates. So here's the key to managing your project. Is it reality that you could be there every day? No, I'm trying to model what you guys would do. I can go there every day. I drove past it, not past it like directly, but I drove like within a couple streets of it twice today. I didn't stop. I didn't drive past it because I'm trying to handle it exactly like you guys have to handle it. I want to be fair to you. This is exactly how I did it. As you guys heard, one of the things I'm actually tracking is every single day I track my hours that I spent on the project, because I want you to know exactly what the cost of lazy is. You know, I love Dion like a brother. And he said on Zuber's show 2 days ago that he wouldn't do another project. He says he only had 80 hours into it. I don't think he's lying. I think he just misremembers. I think he had more than 80 hours into it. But let's say that he did. Based on his numbers, he made $3,750 an hour. I think all of us, including me, I'd go back to work for 80 hours for $3,750 an hour doing almost anything. I just want to show you guys the cost of lazy. You guys can get lazy, but I spent a lot of years getting ready to get lazy. Now I'm pretty lazy. I'm finishing up the projects that I had on my books, but I used to have a full-time job. I worked 50 hours a week. To me, this is kind of lazy. And I still do anything I want. Unions, Big Hill. Unions fight against automation. Only a small percentage can be automated in California. Big Hill, I maybe. I'm just an automation guy. So I spent 17 years selling automation. I can tell you what we automated 17 years ago versus what we automated in February when I was leaving the space, which is RPA and AI, robotic process automation and AI. There's a lot more that can be automated than people think. There just are. Everyone used to think, well, you can't really automate, sheetrock hangers. Want to bet? There's $1 million robot that can actually hang sheetrock. Even if they can only do 90% of the job, imagine 2 guys coming in afterwards. I'm telling you, there's nothing that a robot or AI won't be able to do. Just telling you. So I believe that there's going to be more automation. And I believe that no matter how much they think they can't be automated, there's going to be a lot more automated. It's not as hard as you think. I worked in healthcare. Some of the advanced stuff that they put in bodies is going to be a whole lot easier on a massive, 12 by 40 foot piece of tin that's carrying stuff. So I think you'll be surprised. The ILA agreed to temporary halt the East Coast. Oh, that's good. That's great news. That's great. Jason Calasabetta. Oh, thank you, sir. You're welcome very much, Derek. Or Daryl, sorry. I looked at dock workers delaying strike. That's good. That's smart. That's smart. Interesting. Just saying. Let's see. Wealth building journey. What a coincidence. Exactly. Just saying. Jason Calasabetta. Can still do a refi, no cash out, correct? Yes, I can. Yep. Just to lower rate. I bought a fourplex February at 725. Yeah. I mean, I just got pricing today at 625 on a fourplex that I'm looking at. So yeah, very possible for sure. Yeah, absolutely. You could. Yep. I mean, if it's worth a point, it's usually worth doing. But the thing that I would say is what direction are rates trending? I think they're probably trending down. That's the way I feel about it. They're all but talking about another cut. That means that there's probably going to be some more margin taken out of banks, pricing. So I wouldn't be shocked if we're in the high fives. I really wouldn't be. On investment property, I wouldn't be shocked if we get into the high fives. And that means that you're going from 7.25 down to, maybe 5.5 or 5.75. Holy Toledo. 30-year fixed rate debt, like knock my socks off. That's amazing. Big Hill. I believe there will be more automation too. Look at China. Ports unions will delay what they can. Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot more. I mean, like a lot of automation, like scary amounts of automation. Guys, I worked in the space. I used to help hospitals automate the incredibly horrible process internally of billing with insurance companies. And when we implemented one solution that took us about 6 months, it saved that hospital 55 FTEs. 55. No one lost their job, but what it did was it drastically improved the accounts receivable days. The hospital receivable days dropped drastically, but they didn't have to hire. They doubled the size. So that took about 6 months to do, but over the course of the next 4 years, they doubled in volume. They doubled in volume in the amount of size and billing that they were doing. They were doing billions of dollars a year of billing. They doubled in size and they didn't have to increase one headcount. That's what RPA and AI do. That's what technology does. But yeah, that's that. Guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Check me out tomorrow, 10. I think it's probably 10 a.m. Probably about 10 a.m. I got to see how everything else goes. Please report to the hospital for your automated colonoscopy. Yeah. Well, that's where doctors will still come in, but don't be surprised. Guys, look up, there's surgical bots called Da Vinci's. Look up a Da Vinci. I'm not joking. Look it up. There's still somebody on the control on the other end, but look up the Da Vinci. If they can get a machine to be that precise and they can then model the behavior of the doctor in that machine, that's the easier part. It is. Look up Da Vinci's. No joke. Check them out. But guys, have an awesome rest of your week. I'll see you tomorrow morning when we're walking the property. You guys will see the roof, see how much progress we made there. You guys will see a lot of stuff, a lot of fun, exciting stuff. Hey, Hyder, get a colonoscopy, my man. Trust me, unbelievably uncomfortable situation. Prep is way worse than the actual thing, like way worse, because you're asleep. But the prep for it, that was rough. That was rough. But yeah, guys, have a fantastic evening. I'll check you guys out in the morning. As always, Lumberjack Landlord, check it out on Instagram, guys. I'm posting pictures there almost daily on when I swing by there. But right now, all in, right now, I'm 8.5 hours. 8.5 hours all in. That's everything. From the time that the agent brought me the deal to now, I'm 8.5 hours in. So tomorrow I'll be on site for probably a half an hour. I'll probably be 9 hours in. But every single time I spend making a phone call, looking at an order, any of that stuff, any of it, I'm putting it down. I'm putting it down. And I send myself an email every day, hour and a half, and it brings it to, to 8.5 hours or whatever it does. So I'm telling you, after tomorrow, we'll probably be at about 9 hours is my guess after tomorrow. But guys, have a fantastic night. We'll keep all this stuff in there. Great seeing you guys as always. Thanks for all the likes. And like I said, guys, if you know other people that are friends of yours that are investing in properties and trying to do any of this stuff, guys, do them a favor. Do me a favor. Send them a link. This is free. I bought you a $150,000 house. It's the least you could do. Help me out. All right, guys, have a great night. I'll see you guys in the morning. Take care.